get to the man right at the heart of the story, the man who called the general election yesterday. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak joins me from Ilkeston in Derbyshire. Good to have you on. As it is reported that some of your cabinet colleagues said that you going early was a mistake. Also, it is reported you went against the advice of your strategist Isaac Levido. What's persuaded you to make the move you did, Prime Minister? Morning.
Good morning, Nick. Thanks very much for having me. Good to be on your show. And look, when it comes to timing, we've been through a tough few years as a country, but the last few weeks have shown that we're making real progress. Inflation has returned to normal, wages have been rising faster than prices for months now, energy bills are falling, and the economy is growing at a healthy rate. And that shows that, we've turned a corner, we've brought economic stability back, and now the public should get to choose who's got the clearest plan, can deliver the bold action that is needed to secure a better long-term future for our country and our children in an increasingly unstable world. And that's what this election is going to be about.
I hear you, Mr. Prime Minister, but you're going against the advice of your strategist. Why is he wrong?
No, that's not true. And I don't think people are interested in this, Nick. Your listeners are interested in the substance of this election, right? I know things have been difficult, but we're at a point now where we have brought economic stability back to the country. You can see that with the very positive news on inflation. I know people are only just starting to feel the benefits of this. I know it's going to take more time for everyone to feel that, and there's more work to do. But this is now the moment to think about the future. These are uncertain times, and that means we need a clear plan and bold action to chart a course to a secure future. That's what I offer. That's what my record demonstrates, and that's in clear contrast to what Keir Starmer and the Labour Party do, where he doesn't have the conviction, courage or plan needed to secure that brighter future. I do. I'm going to be spending the next few weeks talking about that with you and with your listeners.
And I look forward to that. Thank you, Prime Minister. Let's talk a little bit about the record, and I remind you of your 5 pledges or promises from January of last year. If we can focus on the NHS, when you made that pledge, waiting lists were at 7.21 million. Now they're 7.54 million. Prime Minister, they haven't been cut. They've gone up by over 300,000. Why have you failed there?
Yeah, and we haven't made as much progress on NHS waiting lists as I would have liked. This matters to me personally because I come from an NHS family, as we've discussed. My mum was a pharmacist, my dad was a GP, and I wish we had made more progress, but we are now making progress. As we discussed, I think when I was last on your show, the waiting lists have now fallen by around 200,000, and actually what the NHS have said, if it wasn't for industrial action that we had, they would have fallen by almost 500,000 more than that too. And that would have, then we would have actually got them down as I'd wanted to. But it was right that we took a sensible approach and found the time to resolve those disputes on public sector pay. But we're also doing other things. We're training more doctors and nurses now here at home than we've ever done before. NHS has never had a plan like that. We're making sure you can go and see your pharmacist rather than your GP when you or your kids have a sore throat or an ear infection. That will speed up care. And we're also making sure that the next generation grows up smoke-free. Again, that's evidence that I'm prepared to take bold action. I've got a clear plan that I'm going to work to, and that's how we're going to deliver more security for the country.
When are you going to deliver the hospitals that your party promised?
We said by 2030, and they're on track to be delivered by 2030.
All of them will be delivered by 2030?
Yes, and they're all in varying stages of either they've already had planning approval or they're going through planning approval. We made sure we prioritise the hospitals that were being impacted by RAC in particular. But that's not all we're doing. We're also rolling out things like community diagnostic centres across the country. Why does that matter? Because if you can go visit somewhere that, by the way, may not be in the big hospital, but be in your community where you can get your check, your test, your scan done, that's going to mean that we can get you care quicker. We've rolled out already something like 160 of them across the country. They've already carried out millions of checks, tests and scans, and that's all part of our plan that is working. But look, you can't have any investment in the NHS, Nick, unless you've got a strong economy. And people know with me, and they know with the Conservatives, you can trust us to deliver that strong economy. That's what we've seen over the past few weeks. Inflation back to normal, the economy growing faster than our competitors, wages rising, energy bills falling. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because I was prepared to take bold action even when it was difficult and even when the Labour Party opposed it. I've got a clear plan that I stuck to, and that's what I will do as Prime Minister going forward. That's how I deliver security for this country and everyone's family. Whether it's on the NHS, the economy, getting to net zero, our borders, those are the topics that matter.
Wages are indeed rising, but people who are trying to pay for or get a house, you'll be aware the average 2-year fixed mortgage rate was 1.56% 3 years ago. It's now all but 6%. When are those people going to get some fiscal relief?
Well, the only way to sustainably bring down mortgage rates is to have a plan to combat inflation. And when I became Prime Minister, inflation was running at around 11%. As we saw just yesterday, it's now back to normal, just over 2%.
Right.
That didn't happen by accident, Nick. That happened because I was prepared to take the bold, but difficult, but necessary action to do that. I stuck to my plan. And that plan is working, and that will mean that now, going forward, people can look forward to more financial security, energy bills, mortgage rates falling, inflation being at more sustainable levels, wages have been rising, and taxes being cut, right? I do want people's hard work to be rewarded so that they can provide more for their families, whether that's buying a house, going on holiday. But that's why I've got a plan to cut people's taxes.
I wonder if
we've cut an average worker's tax by £900 this year. And again,
if we could go
to stick with it, that's how we deliver financial security.
I wonder if I could take you to one of your other 5 promises, which was to stop the boats. The last full period for which numbers are available, the first 3 months of this year, actually saw a record number of people arrive, 4,993. I'm sure you're going to point to the overall trend now is on the decline, but why was it such a bad, if I may characterise it as that, first quarter of the year, Prime Minister?
Yeah, it was difficult because of almost exclusively one particular reason, and that was new arrivals from Vietnam. And they account for almost all the increase that we've seen earlier this year. And I'm confident, as we did with Albania, you can find ways to resolve that. Albania accounted for around a third of the arrivals before I was Prime Minister. I signed a new deal with Albania. We returned thousands of illegal migrants to Albania. And then you saw the numbers drop by 90% last year. And overall, illegal migrants coming across the channel were down by a third last year. But look, this election is a choice about the future, Nick. And when it comes to this really important issue, there's a clear choice. I believe that you need to have a deterrent. I believe that you need to be able to send people to a safe third country if they come illegally. And now we've just seen 15 other European countries agree with me. They all signed a declaration
so will the first
saying that they
flight
also
go before
agree
July the 4th,
that is an important part of the solution. But the choice at this election is being Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer doesn't believe in that plan. He would scrap that plan and offer illegal migrants an amnesty and make us the soft touch of Europe. And that's the choice that we should focus on over the next few weeks.
Prime Minister, how many flights will take off prior to the election day to Rwanda?
Well, Nick, I gave a press conference about this a while ago. I went over it in detail. I said the first flight will go in July, and then there will be a drumbeat of flights over the summer to build the deterrent.
Will the first flight be prior to July the 4th, Prime Minister?
No, I've said the first flights will go in July. Yes, if I'm elected, we will get the flights off. Oh, no, after the election.
So there'll be no flights prior to the election?
Yeah, but the preparation work has already gone on. We've hired hundreds of caseworkers. People have been seeing that we've been detaining people already. The airfield is ready. The flights are booked. I'm not going to get into the operational detail of this for obvious reasons. But again, the choice at this election, Nick, is me or Keir Starmer. If you want flights to go off, I'm the one who's prepared to take the bold action necessary. I've got a plan that I'm working towards. That's how we deliver security for our borders, for our country. Keir Starmer wants to scrap that plan. And there is no way you can stop the boats without a deterrent. 15 other European countries now agree with my approach. The one person that doesn't is Keir Starmer.
OK, I've only got about a minute with you left. I'd like to move you on to the wash-up period, if I may. Will those who've been affected by the infected blood scandal and the subsequent inquiry, will those payments be authorised prior to you leaving for the general election campaign?
Yeah, I will do absolutely everything in my power to ensure that we get that legislation through in the next couple of days before
So you can't
Parliament
guarantee
resolves.
it, Prime Minister?
Well, it's because it requires a conversation with parties across Parliament. That's why. But I will do absolutely everything in my power to make sure that we do get that through. I think people heard what I said on Monday. This has been an appalling, devastating scandal that has impacted so many people's lives. And it's important that they get not just the answers that they deserve, but they also get the justice and the compensation that they deserve. We set out comprehensive plans to do that, and I think people were reassured by the appointment of Sir Robert Francis as chair of the authority. And as I said, our intention and I will do everything in my power to get that done.
You told Figan Murray, the mother of Martin Hett, that you were confident you'd bring in Martin's Law prior to the summer recess. Do you stand by that?
Again, these are all conversations that need to be had with other parties across Parliament. When Parliament dissolves, there are procedures in place to govern what can and cannot be passed. But as I said, I am committed to getting, especially on infected blood, to make sure that we can get that done and carry on as we've announced.
So you can't actually confirm that the infected blood victims will get their money, can you?
Nick, I know you might want to make a point about that, because It's a question of conversations across all parties in Parliament. Those are parliamentary procedures. When Parliament dissolves at the end of a session and you have a couple more days to get the last bits of legislation through, I can't force those through on my own. It requires a conversation with parties across Parliament. That's how our constitution works. That's how our Parliament works. There's no need to make any political point about it. That's just the reality of the situation. I'm going to do everything in my power to get that done. I think people can see and hear what I said on Monday. I'm very determined to right the wrongs.
And is the Renters Reform Bill also in the wash-up?
Again, it's the same answer on all of these questions, Nick. The same answer on all these questions. But again, this election is about the choice. After a difficult few years, we now have stability, and the choice at this election is in very uncertain times, which you've talked about on your show. These uncertain times call for a clear plan and bold action to chart a course to a secure future. That's what I offer. That's
when you looked at
history, at this election.
When you looked at history, and there's been no July election since 1945, which didn't go well for the Conservatives, and you're probably aware that England and Scotland are competing in the Euros, Wimbledon will be on, and Taylor Swift's in town. Are you sure you're going to be able to gain the attention of all the electorate?
Yeah, I think this is an important moment for our country. And after a difficult few years, we are now heading in the right direction, particularly on the economy. Inflation back to normal, the economy growing, wages rising. Yeah, and because we now have that stability, and because the world is more uncertain than it's been in years, this is the time for people to make a choice. Do we build on that progress? And I'm prepared to take the bold action that's necessary. I'm the one that's got a clear plan, and that's how we deliver a secure future for everyone and their families.
Can you respond to a story yesterday? The Conservatives are the party of law and order. Your message to the NPCC, the National Police Council, Chiefs Council, suggesting that police go easy and step off arrests as there's a lack of prison cells and suspend major operations. That's not a Conservative party of law and order, is it, Prime Minister?
No, I think the NPC also said that the police will always arrest anyone they need to in order to keep the public safe. And that's absolutely what the government and the Conservative Party would expect them to do, and what victims would expect them to do. And our track record on this is clear, as you and I discussed. I think last time we were on, I was on your show. I want my 2 young girls to grow up in a society where it's safe for them to walk around. That's why we've put 20,000 more police officers on the street. That's why we've given them more powers to do their job, like seizing knives, tackling knife crime, stop and search. And it's why we've toughened up sentencing, particularly for the worst offenders, violent offenders, sexual offenders. We've toughened up all the sentencing. And on that issue, again, there's a choice at this election, because Keir Starmer voted against all of those things when we did it. We talked about illegal migration. Thanks to the laws that the Conservative government have passed, we've now arrested almost 1,000 people connected with illegal migration. We've sentenced them to almost 500 years in jail. Keir Starmer voted against all those laws.
Prime
so
Minister,
that's an example of the choice of the election. If you want security, I'm the one that's prepared to take the action necessary. I'm the one that's got a plan that will deliver it.
Lastly, indeed, on that point, you have told me you're a man with a plan on a number of occasions, but you didn't have a plan for inclement weather. Do you regret doing it in the rain, as it were?
I'm not going to deny that it was a bit wet. But
why didn't you have a plan for something inside?
I'm not a fair weather politician, Nick. I believe very strongly in the traditions of our country. And when you're making a statement of that magnitude as Prime Minister, I believe in just doing it in the traditional way, come rain and shine, in front of the steps of Downing Street. That's what I do.
Grateful for your time. I hope we speak again over the campaign. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak appearing on LBC.